Kent, and this is another episode of Tony Kent Writes and Cross-Examines. And today we will be speaking to the very proud Scottish author, Mr. Michael J Malone. Michael is the author of a succession of psychological thrillers, beginning with his debut, Blood Tears, which won the Pitlochry Prize from the Scottish Association of Writers. So Michael is one of those annoying people who came in with a bang and started winning awards straight away. No one ever nominates me for awards, Michael, so it's nice to see you, and it's nice to have some prestige in the room.
Well, nothing's happened since, so I can sympathise.
You're still ahead.
Yeah, it's all been downhill since there, but nice to be here, and thanks for having me on, Tony.
No, thanks for coming on. It's a pleasure to have you, and I think I'm talking to you from Buckinghamshire, which by London standards is nice and green and leafy.
Right.
You're talking to us though from Ayr, I believe.
Yes, absolutely. I'm about 5 minutes drive from the coast.
Right. So you're coming from I come from a place that by London standards is quite nice to look at. You're coming from a place that by world standards is quite nice to look at.
Yeah, we have an amazing beach actually. It's about 1.5 miles long.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Mind you, I can't get there because I'm in lockdown, but I suppose I could walk it, couldn't I?
Well, you could, but there's a lot of hills there.
Yeah.
No, so you've got the pleasure of looking out of a window, as we all do, but looking at something that's really quite nice, I guess.
Well, it's kind of a wee council estate, or former council estate. So I've got a lot of roofs, and there's a nice part just to my left. There's a big former stately home with a riverside walk. So that's really nice. I used to take my dog along there every day before he popped it.
Oh, have you got a new one?
No. I'm away too much, and I was sharing them with my ex-wife.
Right.
So it was a kind of joint family dog, but no, nothing since then.
That'd be slightly more difficult once once you've only got the responsibility yourself.
Aye, and I'm away quite a lot doing events and stuff. So although it would be nice to have a dog, I'm away quite a lot, so it'd be quite tricky trying to sort of organise care for whatever pet that I got. So yeah, but although when I'm here all day, every day. So from that perspective, a pet would be nice, but just not practical.
It's not practical. I mean, once we're allowed out of lockdown, the amount of events and festivals and libraries and things that I'm sure you go to, it just doesn't make it.
Oh yeah, it's going to go crazy, isn't it?
We hope. I just hope it goes crazy somewhere with an alcohol license.
Please invite me. I need to get out the house.
I've had enough of making my own drinks. I want someone to serve me a drink. I don't mind making my own dinners, but I want someone to serve me a drink. So, Michael, when did you win the Pitlochry Prize? What year was that?
That was 2003, and that was for an unpublished novel. Was the prize, and it took me until 2012 to get that book published. So
Blood Tears won in 2003, and then nine years later it finally hit the shops. Aye.
It was quite a sort of roller coaster ride. Lots of duvet days, several agents, a lot of close calls, a lot of frustration, but just kept going, kept believing that I would get there, kept writing other stuff. So got there in the end.
And since Blood Tears, how many have you published?
10 novels and one non-fiction book.
So 10 novels since 2012.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fairly incredible. That's what you call prolific, isn't it? That really is.
Well, there was a period when I had 2 books out a year. But by the time I actually got published, I had 5 novels written.
Right.
So,
and did you manage to publish all of them?
Sorry?
Have you published all 5?
Yeah.
Because I've heard a lot of people, and then Will Dean, for example, always talks about his first novel, which he can probably now get published on the back of being Will Dean, but which he totally refuses to do. So I know a lot of people say they've got their novels in their shelves or in their drawers, but they're staying there.
Yeah, well, interestingly, my latest one, In the Absence of Miracles, was actually the very first book that I wrote.
Really?
Yeah. So I wrote that in 1996.
Okay.
So there's a story. So
That was the year I went to. That's the year I went and lived in Scotland.
That's right.
It was.
It was a good year then. So I wrote that in '96, and it was kind of, oh God, it just wasn't good enough. I mean, actually, I got an agent for it, and then he bought a TV station, as you do, and dumped all of his writers.
So someone's paying him too much commission if he's able to buy a TV station.
Yeah. He had some old Beatles footage that was apparently incredibly well. He was going to get a lot of money from it. So I think he got some money from that, and then he did what he really wanted to do. So, but anyway, I wrote another book, and then I wrote a third book, and that third book became the book that first got published.
Right.
So I started that in about Blood Tears, yeah. So, but the story of In the Absence of Miracles kind of stuck with me, and because I'd had an agent interested in it, I thought, well, I must have something going for it. So last year, it came out last year. So the year before, I spoke to my publisher Karen and said, look, I've got this story. The particulars of it have stuck with me. It's something that needs to be talked about, needs to be written about, and I just want to have another wee look at it and see if it's salvageable.
Yeah.
So I found the file in my old laptop, and I had printed it off, read it, and it was utter shite. It was actually there was so much exposition, clunky dialogue, really overly descriptive. I was reading a guy called Pat Conroy at the time, and I wanted to be him.
Okay.
And the only person that can be Pat Conroy was Pat Conroy. So it just was, oh man, I needed a complete rewrite. So, but basically the core story was strong. So with that, I completely rewrote the whole book. There's been the odd phrases that stayed in the ending, the last chapter actually. So I must have been getting better as I wrote the book. So the last chapter is pretty much the way it was when I wrote it 20 odd years ago. And so I sent that off to my publisher, and she was like, yeah, great, need some editing, but we're nearly there. So yeah, it was quite pleasing actually.
Well, I can understand why the story stayed with you actually, because it is a fascinating story. It's the story about the chap who basically finally gets control of the family home, isn't it, after his mother is unwell?
Yeah, he's got to sell the family home because his mother's in care. Had a massive stroke, and he finds evidence in the attic that he had a brother who disappeared when he was just a baby. So, in finding out the truth about the family, he's forced to come to terms with his own past.
Yeah.
So there's all those kind of how the past comes up and bites us in the arse.
Yeah. No, it's not a book. I have to say, it's not a book that had been on my radar before. I did a bit of research for this, but I have actually already ordered it off of Amazon because it's for you and also the person I'm speaking to next. Both of your both most recent books are right up my street. So, what would you say? I've been speaking a lot in the last couple of days about crime writing and how it's weird as a genre. It's far too wide to call anything crime writing. I prefer to refer to it as a banner. It's a banner that we're all hiding under.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Where would you say that your stuff falls in terms of the wider genre?
It's kind of, I find it difficult to categorise. My publisher sells it as literary crime fiction.
Yeah.
But that's a kind of, I'm kind of uncomfortable with that whole kind of literary thing. I understand where she's coming from. But I feel a wee bit uneasy with that. So, but it's kind of a bit of, so many different influences. There's I'm writing the books that I want to read actually. So when I'm picking up a book, I want to be emotionally engaged. I want to learn something new. I want some writing that tastes good, if you know what I mean. So just words, collection of words that just sing in your mind. I love that
So
stuff.
I can see where they're coming from with literary, because
Aye.
that is kind of a very literary approach to the thing.
But I've read so many literary novels that I've started and then I just don't give a fuck, because I don't care what's happening. It's beautifully executed, but I don't care. So
it's like you're writing literary with a plot.
Aye. Yes. So I want something to happen. I want there to be a story. I want there to be a mystery. I want there to be lots of questions. And I like touching on subjects that make us uncomfortable as well. I like to get my teeth into something meaty and emotional.
So, well, I mean, if you look at The Absence of Miracles, I mean, it's exactly what that is, isn't it? Because you've got somebody who's, you're not only facing a mystery, you're also having to face the fact that there could be something seriously wrong with people that you've, the whole basis of your reality. The basis of everyone's reality is their family, isn't it, really? It's what we know best.
Aye.
And if you find out that they're not what you thought, I mean, where does that leave you?
Well, absolutely. And there's that whole thing about stranger danger when, as you'll know, working in the law, that we're most in danger from the people nearest and dearest to us.
Yeah.
Aye. So we save the worst of ourselves for the people that deserve the best.
Yeah.
And I do like to sort of examine that in my books, actually.
That is very, very interesting. So could I ask you quickly about your non-writing life? You are a clinical hypnotherapist.
Yes. Studied that about this time last year, actually. So I work 2 days a week in a local natural therapy centre, and hypnotherapy itself, people hear the hypno part of it, and then their kind of barriers are up. Because they were so used to all these like stage hypnotists making an arse of people. But then I'll say, people, look, you're forgetting about the therapy part of that. So most of the clients I'm dealing with it's anxiety problems. It's problems with anxiety and depression, kind of mental health issues. So it can be very effective in helping people with that. But there's obviously, I've worked with people wanting to lose weight, want to stop smoking, that kind of stuff, fears of heights, all that. But primarily, it's anxiety and stress.
I can see that. I can see why, regardless of, I guess, no matter how hard it might be for someone to go under, or I'm sure some are much more of a struggle than others. Ultimately, it's just the bringing down of things, isn't it? It's bringing down to a point of calm.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that state of deep relaxation is so powerful. And sometimes even just, I had a client in just before Christmas, and her husband had cancer, her mother had a stroke, had no heart attack, and she herself had just had a stroke, but she was the one that was looking after everybody else. So she couldn't tell them how badly she was feeling, because they were so much worse than her, but depending on her. So I just sat with her for 20 minutes and just let her talk. And at the end of that 20 minutes, she's just like, I just feel so much better. Just having somebody to listen to me. And I think most of us, we don't take that opportunity to be that open and honest with someone. And I think in the therapeutic setting, that kind of encourages that. So often, like for her, she would have happily got up and walked out, and even before we'd done the hypnotherapy, she says, oh, my shoulders are so loose now. So she was just holding everything so tight.
It must be a wonderful thing to do, to have a job where you can see that kind of immediate influence. And
it is actually. It's really affirming, and it's kind of, it makes me frustrated when people don't appreciate what hypnotherapy can do, because, but as I say, because there is a bad reputation there because of all these idiots that were doing the stage stuff.
Turn you into a chicken.
Aye, or eat an onion.
Michael, I've just glanced to the side and I've seen how short a time we have left. We've got 10 seconds. So that's 15 minutes gone. I know it's crazy. Thank you very much for coming on. Thanks for telling us about everything. And good luck with the books. And I hope I'll see you in person soon.
Yeah, we'll share a wee drink.